Everybody, welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. And honestly, I can't believe it's already Thursday. I woke up this morning and looked at my phone and looked at the date on it, and I was pretty blown away. And I still haven't fully accepted that we've made it 4 days through this week. But nonetheless, we have, and we do have a lot going on out there, including a tornado watch up currently for sections of Georgia as some of these kind of cells move onshore from that low pressure that is now moving inland. And that threat will continue into tomorrow into sections of the Carolinas, although muted compared to today's threat. Also tomorrow is whenever kind of this big storm system really begins to ramp up out west, and that is going to create its own kind of severe weather out into the plains, as well as some rain and snow for others over the next couple of days. But across the board, we will have a cool down from this cold front as it sweeps on through this weekend through the lower 48. So with that said, let's go ahead and get right into that forecast. So taking a look here at our hazards out there, this kind of big area of pink across the middle part of the country are red flag warnings actually. So this just means that there's an increased risk of fires if you're burning outside and anything were to get out of control. We do have that increased threat here through pretty much right through the middle part of the country. And then down here to the southeast, we do have some wind advisories in Alabama for that low pressure, which is kicking up some of that wind, as well as a tornado watch and severe thunderstorm watch through sections of Georgia and Florida, creating problems down that way. So taking a look at radar here as well, you can tell that this is pretty evident on radar that we do have this system down here into the southeastern part of the country. So this is that low pressure system, and it is of course bringing in that precipitation here counterclockwise. And as these cells are beginning to move here into sections of Georgia, some of them are becoming severe. So right now we actually do have one severe thunderstorm warning down here in southern Georgia. And this is going to continue to work inland overnight and into tomorrow before eventually working its way into the Carolinas tomorrow afternoon. So again, looking at satellite, this is a pretty impressive picture for April. You can see this very well-defined area of low pressure spinning in through the southeastern United States. And it does look very tropical on satellite. So again, you could pretty much probably fool anybody and tell them this is a satellite imagery from July and not the middle of April. So very impressive stuff that we're seeing out there today, and especially yesterday down here in the Fort Lauderdale area where we got close to potentially 26 inches of rain in just a kind of 6 to 12 hour time frame, and that is really quite unheard of. And if that measurement does come back to be true, that will break plenty of records through the state of Florida. We'll just have to wait to get the final estimations on that. So taking a look at those hazards that we're dealing with right now, we do have an enhanced risk of those severe storms here into southern Georgia, as well as a slight risk really extending all the way from Miami up through kind of the Talladega area. And again, as we go through the overnight tonight, this is going to continue to shift north and eventually work into the Carolinas tomorrow, which you can see here on this map. And I apologize that this isn't really centered on the map, but this is just kind of the best map I could find for this. But we do have that marginal risk tomorrow from really Augusta through Charlotte, Raleigh, Greenville, Spartanburg, Columbia, just to name some of the big cities in this marginal risk. So this is a small threat, but wouldn't be surprised at all to see a strong storm or two tomorrow in these areas. And taking a look at that future radar with this, again, you can tell we do have these current storms firing off here through sections of Georgia and even sections of Florida and South Carolina right now. But as we go through the overnight, this is going to continue to work into sections of South Carolina. And by the time we get into kind of that morning time frame, we're going to have pretty scattered thunderstorms and showers here through the Carolinas, and also some feisty storms here off the coast, kind of along the Gulf Stream there. But once we get into tomorrow afternoon, I think we're going to get another burst of that convection going into tomorrow evening, and we're going to have pretty widespread thunderstorms here from Atlanta up through Charlotte and the Raleigh-Durham area. And again, any of these could become severe as we do have those ingredients. I think the main threat will be straight line winds, and then more of a scattered hail threat, and then even a couple weak tornadoes are possible with these storms, but they likely won't be anything long tracked or anything like that, just a quick touchdown before they lift back up, as we often see with the remnants of these kind of tropical systems. So also tomorrow on the more of a national scale in terms of severe weather, we have a chance of severe weather from Minnesota all the way back down towards Texas. So a big area that we're covering here tomorrow, but the slight risk or that higher chance is really right here through the heart of Nebraska and Kansas for the threat of strong winds, big hail, and even a couple tornadoes also possible in these areas tomorrow. And then as we go into Saturday, that threat shifts off to the east. So now looking at areas from Chicago all the way down towards Houston, having the best chance of those strong storms on Saturday. But really, the bullseye of that being in some major cities like Little Rock, Memphis, St. Louis, and back down towards Shreveport, just to name a couple of the cities there in that slight risk. And this is an area that has had their fair share of severe weather so far this season, so you kind of hate to see the same places get hit over and over again, but this has just been a really stubborn pattern that has really let these low pressures just continue to cut very far north and kind of spare the east coast and the southeast from some of these stronger storms, but with that, bringing that threat further back over towards the Mississippi River Valley, and that pattern has just continued over the past really month or so. But taking a look at radar here for tomorrow on more of a national scale, this is going into tomorrow evening. Again, we'll have those scattered showers and thunderstorms into the southeast, and while that's ongoing, we're going to get that area of severe weather to potentially develop here back into the Great Plains. Now, as we go into tomorrow night, I would expect some of this to change over to snow into sections of the Dakotas and Minnesota, although right now it doesn't look like any kind of crazy major snowstorm. It just looks like maybe some kind of scattered snow, and as we get into tomorrow, we'll look more at the in-depth snowfall forecast in terms of totals, but it doesn't look like anything really too crazy, especially for those areas that, are really used to the snow. But the other story here on Saturday afternoon is that area of severe weather shifting now back towards the Mississippi River Valley, so we'll definitely watch that on Saturday. Again, that map that we just looked at showed those places that will have the highest risk of those strong storms. And then as we get into Sunday afternoon, this precipitation continues to move eastbound and brings those increased rain chances through the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys and even through sections of the southeast as well. And this is whenever I think we'll likely get the most snow out of this system on the backside through sections of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin will really be Sunday and Sunday evening. And then as that is, continuing to unfold in those areas, we're then going to get those rain chances on Monday afternoon up into the northeast, and then scattered rain and snow showers through the Great Lakes region as well on Monday afternoon, before finally we get into Tuesday afternoon, and things look to get better for most of us, although maybe still some scattered rain showers up here into portions of New England. But other than that, it looks much nicer. Before then going into the middle of next week, we look to kind of bring back more of a springtime pattern before, I'm sure, going into late next week, we'll probably get another one of these cold fronts to move east. So, a pretty, simple pattern, if you will, that we've been dealing with recently, and a very repetitive pattern as well that just continues to repeat itself. So it's one of those patterns you almost feel like you just know you're going to have a really nice work week, and then you're likely going to get rain on the weekend. It's just this pattern that we've really been stuck in, which is kind of unfortunate because you would like to have kind of a nicer weekend than we've seen in a lot of places so far this April. But taking a look at rainfall totals as well, because that, of course, is important. I think the highest totals will likely be down here into the southeast, where we are dealing with that tropical system on top of maybe a little bit of rain from this cold front as it sweeps on through. But really, most of this is coming from this tropical in nature system, I should say, that is moving inland. Other big places will be up here into the northern Great Plains, and again, some of this will fall as snow, but those folks up there towards Minneapolis, Green Bay, the UP of Michigan likely seeing a pretty healthy amount of precipitation, and then kind of a bit of a dead zone here through the mid-Atlantic and other areas where it'll be more scattered in nature, that rain, as this cold front sweeps on through. So the other story here, of course, is temperatures. And again, we have that really nice warm springtime weather now, but you'll notice as this cold front swings on through, those blues work their way into the picture on the backside of that, bringing in that below average weather in terms of temperatures, at least for kind of really the beginning of next week. So I think next Monday will likely be the coldest across the east out of all of the days of next week before we finally rebound going through the middle of next week, again, much like we are seeing right now through much of the East Coast. So, again, we've got this tropical system that's continuing to work through the southeast, bringing some severe weather and some heavy rain, but tomorrow's whenever that cold front really begins to sweep on through the lower 48, and that will take a couple days to clear the country before having likely a nicer start to next week, although cooler. So, that's what we're looking at right now. Again, a pattern that's just really been repeating itself, and we'll watch for that to continue over the next couple of days, and maybe even the next week or so. But with that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.